Hey everyone, ready to dig in. We're tackling those relationships that, well, maybe didn't quite work out. You know that outline you sent over about why relationships end? That's our deep dive today.
It's funny. So many people think it's about finding the perfect person.
Right, like there's one magic puzzle piece out there.
Exactly. But this outline, it really highlights how much of it is actually about knowing ourselves first.
Totally, like, oh wait, haven't I been down this road before, kind of thing.
That's exactly it. Those patterns we repeat without even realizing.
Which I gotta admit, sometimes I catch myself doing. It's like, why am I drawn to the same type of person, even if those past relationships haven't been, healthy?
Because we're comfortable. It feels familiar, even if it's not the best for us. This outline actually talks about that, how we sometimes choose similar partners over and over.
Oh, for sure. And that's where I think communication comes in big time, like really listening to each other. This outline, it dives into active listening, which honestly can be way harder than it sounds. Oh, 100%. It's not just waiting for your turn to talk. It's really absorbing what the other person is saying.
Yeah.
You've mentioned feeling unheard in past relationships, right?
Yeah, I mean, it makes you question everything. It's like, hello, I have two ears and one mouth for a reason, right?
Right. But active listening, that's how you bridge that gap.
Hmm.
Speaking of gaps, though, the outline also talks about stonewalling. Ever encounter that?
Oh, big time. It's like hitting a brick wall in the middle of an argument. Super frustrating.
The outline made me realize stonewalling, it
Mhm.
often comes from fear. Like opening up feels too risky.
Totally. And then you just end up stuck. But it's interesting, this deep dive, it goes even beyond just how we talk to each other. It digs into things like, are our values even compatible? And what about that baggage we all drag into new relationships?
Yeah, it's easy to focus on the surface stuff, but that deeper level, that's where the good stuff is. Misaligned values, that's huge.
Right. It's like you could be head over heels in love, but if one person wants a huge family and the other's career driven.
It's going to cause friction eventually. And then that baggage we mentioned, everyone has it.
Oh, absolutely. It's like this invisible luggage we don't even realize we're carrying, past experiences, hurts, all that shaping our present. This isn't about blame, though, right?
No, not at all. It's about understanding. Like one of my own relationships. It can be tough looking back on those past relationships, especially the ones that, well, didn't exactly end on a high note.
Right.
But that's kind of the point of this deep dive, isn't it?
Totally. We're digging into that outline you sent, trying to figure out why things didn't work out.
And this outline, it makes this really interesting point, acknowledging that emotional baggage. It's a sign of strength.
Right. It's not about dwelling on the past. It's about understanding how it might be shaping us.
100%.
Oh.
Okay, here's something that surprised me a little. The outline also talks about incompatibility,
Yeah.
like in lifestyles and interests.
Sure.
What do you think about that? Not the first thing that comes to mind for me.
Me neither. It's easy to think, oh, shared interests, that's the key. But then this outline got me thinking, what about those deeper differences? Like how we actually want to live our lives?
Exactly. It's not about having identical hobbies. It's about whether those differences can work long term.
That makes sense. Like, I'm thinking about this friend of mine. She's a total night owl. And she was dating this guy who was up at dawn every day. It caused so much friction.
You see, those little things, they add up. It's not about finding someone who's exactly like you, but you got to be somewhat compatible. And the listener stories part of this outline, it really brings this all home. People sharing their own experiences, right?
Totally. It's validating, like we're not alone in this. There's this one story that really got to me. This listener, they kept attracting emotionally unavailable partners.
Oh, wow. They figure out why?
It was like a light bulb moment when they started looking at their own past. They realized they had this pattern of pushing people away.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes we're the ones unknowingly sabotaging things.
Hmm.
But here's the good news. This outline, it doesn't just point out the problems. It ends on such a positive note. Like, okay, we've learned from our mistakes. Now what?
Right. It's about using this knowledge to move forward. It's like we've been handed this roadmap, right? We're not just wandering around hoping for the best anymore.
Exactly. We're bringing awareness to our choices.
Mm.
And I love this. The outline talks about setting healthy boundaries. Sometimes we stay in relationships way longer than we should.
Oh, for sure. It's like we're afraid to hurt the other person, or we're holding on to this idea of what we thought the relationship could be. But setting boundaries, it's about honoring ourselves too. And it's funny, even those relationships that maybe didn't work out.
They're still teaching us.
Exactly. They're like these unexpected life lessons, showing us what we do and don't want. So I'm curious, for you, what's been the biggest takeaway from this whole deep dive? What are you going to carry with you?
That's such a good question. I think for me, it's the reminder that every relationship, it's an opportunity for growth, even if it's painful at the time. What about you?
It's funny. I was just thinking about that. I'm going to be more upfront about my needs in the future. Like those core values we talked about,
Yeah.
no more tiptoeing around.
Yes. And it's not selfish to know what you want and to ask for it. I think a lot of us are afraid of that.
Mm.
But the outline, it emphasizes this. We all deserve a relationship that lights us up.
It's about finding that connection that feels expansive, right?
Yeah.
Not one that shrinks us down. That's something I'm definitely holding on to.
Me too. And remember, everyone listening, this whole self-discovery thing, it's a journey, not a race. Be kind to yourself along the way.
Absolutely. Embrace the ups and downs. And on that note, that's a wrap on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious out there.